So, if you've seen my latest video, a skit, you probably have noticed that I'm not a huge fan of door-to-door salesmen. And maybe if you've driven into your neighborhood, you've seen a sign that looks like this. But I bet you it doesn't do as much as you thought it would. So, let's talk a little bit more about this whole door-to-door sales thing. So, after doing a little more research into it myself, and having a couple terrible interactions with some door-to-door salesmen, I basically found that there is nothing that stops somebody from coming to your door and knocking on your residence. It's something that is protected actually on the federal level, that somebody is allowed to go and knock on your door unless explicitly told not to. And so this is where that soliciting sign at the front of your neighborhood comes in. I think most people, oh, not the air again, here we go again. Now, I think most people would assume that if your neighborhood took the time to put up a sign that says no soliciting, that you wouldn't in turn have people showing up and knocking on your door. But if you live in a subdivision or a non-gated community, then you might have noticed that you still get knocks on your door regardless of that sign. So why? Well, that's because, again, it's one of those things that's kind of protected on the federal level, and you can't really pass legislation in order to stop people from necessarily coming directly to your door. It's considered a right of free speech. So that makes things a little bit muddy, especially when you feel like they're invading on your privacies and your things when they come and knock on your personal residence. So now you might be thinking, but Bobby, I can put up a no soliciting sign. And yes, that is the preferred method of stopping a solicitor. And in my last back and forth with somebody, they kind of brought that up or told me, like in my skit, that I could just not answer. And I felt that answer kind of unacceptable. Because unlike a text message or an email or a phone call, I can't silence my doorbell or somebody knocking on my residence. And so I feel like that's where it kind of crosses a line for me of like, you can't ignore that. If you're home and somebody comes to your house, that's kind of like non-ignorable. Or if I do, you're leaving me in an awkward social situation. Whereas like usually, if somebody is like going to be soliciting to you, usually you have the option to just kind of phase it out. And that's where this kind of sales technique doesn't really fly in my book. All right, so I just did some more research, and it turns out that door-to-door sales only makes about a 2% conversion rate. And compare that to online sales or digital marketing, which is about 1 to 4%, averaging about 3.85 or something like that. So you can see you're having almost a double success rate just sending people non-threatening emails. And so, again, if you are a person that is boots on the ground, I have no problem with you personally. In fact, I tend to feel sorry for you that somebody has decided that, you know, you're more valuable selling out in 90-degree weather and getting in confrontations with people as a way to like make them money. I think that to me is where it gets icky. So what do we do? So there's kind of, the sucky thing is that even if you put a no soliciting sign up, there's no guarantee that they're not going to knock on your door. And that's kind of the awkwardness that's been created here, where you don't want somebody showing up to your house, and then they then show up to your house, and you have to go about pointing out a non-soliciting sign that you have, or the one in front of the neighborhood, and basically you're left with kind of telling them like, leave or else. And if they're polite, they take the hint and walk away. If they're persistent or paid by commission, they usually stick around a while. And so that is where I find the problem, is that one, a lot of times it's unwanted and unnecessary. And two, if you do find somebody who wants to buy the product, I feel that some of the time, I don't want to say that this is all the time, some of the time it can feel predatory because of the fact that you're selling things to people who you know aren't as likely to tell you no. And to me, I think if you have a good product or a good service, you shouldn't have to twist people's arm or trick them into it, or knock on their door and try to hunt them down for it, right? I think if somebody really wants a good security software, they're probably going to go out there and look and compare different people. It's probably not going to be the first guy who literally knocks on their door that they choose to go with. If you're a salesperson and you're working this kind of stuff, I would highly recommend find yourself a position on a team who will actually value your sales abilities rather than seeing you as kind of meat to throw to the slaughter. And maybe you're successful. Maybe you actually do this for a living and you make a ton of money. I've seen a lot of really good videos out there of different people on YouTube doing some sales. And while again, it's a way to make a living, I would heed that if you don't want to butt heads with assholes like me, maybe don't knock on our door. Awesome, guys. Catch you in the next one. 2, 4, 5 out. So whether it be lawn care or sprinkler care or bug control or who knows what, or security systems. My lord, the security systems. If I could get a security system that would keep solicitors away, you goddamn right I would buy it.